Tonight, a 6-week COVID jab blitz to vaccinate Aboriginal communities, while contact tracing continues following 2 recent COVID cases in Broken Hill.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. Whyalla's Indigenous population is encouraged to get the COVID jab during a 6-week blitz by a local Aboriginal health centre. The statistics showing only 32% of the state's Aboriginal population is fully vaccinated.
It's a blitz to encourage the Steel City's Aboriginal population to roll up their sleeves and get their shots. The Whyalla Aboriginal Health Service launching a 6-week vaxathon from next Monday to raise the community's immunisation rates.
So we're really worried that our Aboriginal population is not highly vaccinated as yet, and we need to work on that.
The service encouraging anyone in the Aboriginal community who hasn't received their shot to come down to the centre. Anyone who gets a jab can get a free meal, plus be in the running to win some prizes.
We strongly really encourage our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, here in this region, to go and get vaccinated, because it's really, like Kate had said, it's quite sad that there's low numbers.
According to the latest SA Health data, only 32% of the state's Indigenous population have received both doses of the vaccine, with 44% only receiving their first jab. Some residents requiring a 3rd dose in order to be fully protected from the virus. Whyalla saying it's vitally important the region's Indigenous population gets full protection.
Come along and just get vaccinated, guys. It's so important. I'm fully vaccinated, and I'm encouraging family and community to do the same. Prevention is better than the cure.
More information can be found by contacting the Whyalla Aboriginal Health Service. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, Broken Hill's latest COVID case, reported yesterday, has now been officially added to the city's total. It means there are 2 active cases. Both are currently in isolation while contact tracing continues. Weekly vaccination data shows almost 97% of locals over 16 have had at least 1 dose. Almost 89% are fully vaccinated, still above the state average. From Monday, locals will be able to travel to and from Victoria with no permit or restrictions, provided they haven't left regional New South Wales recently. Major installations have been completed at Electronet in Davenport in Port Augusta. The condensers play an important role in managing electricity fluctuations across the state's grid.
New technology ensuring we are not left in the dark. Energy infrastructure provider Electronet wrapping up its installation works on its Davenport facility this week. Part of a $190 million upgrade to reduce the risk of widespread power outages.
It sort of restored characteristics of the grid to what it was like closer to when the Northern Power Station was running.
The facility's new synchronous condensers are more than 170 tonnes and measure over 8 metres long, playing an important role in managing supply and demand fluctuations generated by new energy sources.
What these new synchronous condensers do is allow the flow of electricity to remain stable and reliable.
The flywheel adds all this momentum so that if there is a blip on the system, it creates the electrical inertia for the system to ride through the event.
In South Australia's switch from old power stations to new renewable energy, the infrastructure connecting them remain relatively the same. These new devices now equipping the grid to deal with modern-day distribution requirements.
As the state benefits from having a more resilient network, so does Port Augusta and your viewers around there.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Wild weather hit many parts of our viewing region yesterday, with some areas recording wind gusts of up to 100 kilometres per hour. A late afternoon dust storm also enveloping Whyalla and Port Augusta, causing some damage to trees.
It was a veritable smorgasbord of weather right across the Spencer Gulf and Broken Hill. Whether it was rain, hail, thunderstorms and even dust storms, residents in our region copped the brunt of it.
So yesterday we saw some wild weather right across South Australia, and that was due to the development of a low pressure system and a series of troughs and fronts with that.
Strong wind gusts were recorded in Whyalla and Port Pirie, while in Port Augusta, the airport's weather station recorded close to 100 km/h gusts. A late afternoon dust storm also covering Port Augusta and Whyalla, with some afternoon events cancelled.
We saw some very strong winds associated with that low pressure system as well, so many places recording gusts of near 90 kilometres per hour.
Meanwhile, in Broken Hill, the skies were glowing with a shade of orange, with a combination of storms to the east and dust to the west. It was raining throughout the day in Port Lincoln, with 23 millimetres of rain recorded in the past 24 hours since 9 a.m.
Spring, you can expect some very dynamic weather to move across the state. You probably have to go back to about 2016 where we saw, sort of widespread damage across the state.
The full weekend weather details later in tonight's bulletin. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a Port Lincoln hotel takes home major tourism awards and new maps released showcasing Broken Hill art and cultural attractions. Welcome back. The Yorke Peninsula is boasting record levels of tourism, with local providers reaping the benefits. The South Australian Tourism Commission Chief Executive says with borders opening next month, expenditure levels will continue to rise.
If you're planning a getaway, the Yorke Peninsula is the place to be.
7 months of record levels of hotel occupancy. We are seeing intrastate tourism expenditure up 29% to June.
The South Australian Tourism Commission Chief Executive has been out and about on the Yorke Peninsula talking to accommodation and tourism providers. He says the summer months are already heavily booked. Great news for providers who have done it tough throughout the pandemic.
With this high level of intrastate expenditure, the Yorke Peninsula is very well positioned to achieve its 2025 regional visitor expenditure target.
The Great State Vouchers contributing to the increase in visitors to the YP, supporting the struggling industry. But it doesn't stop there. With borders set to open on November 23, he says it sends a strong message about the opportunities for tourism, building consumer confidence and expecting to see those expenditure levels continue to soar to new heights.
It's encouraging to see, people getting out, moving about, and once those interstate borders are open, we think 2022 is going to be a phenomenal year for domestic tourism in South Australia and in Australia.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Port Lincoln business has taken home 2 gongs at the Australian Hotels Association South Australia Awards this week. The Port Lincoln Hotel, recognised amongst the best throughout the state.
Another award to add to their growing resume. The Port Lincoln Hotel team recognised in front of their peers.
We are so proud to be recognised for this award. We are absolutely thrilled.
The organisation taking out the Tourism and Regional Promotion Award, recognising a tourism initiative or product that is unique or adds value to the industry and local community.
Through social media, through in-house marketing, through our tourism screens. Yeah, it's quite a lot. We do quite a lot for tourism.
It has been a challenging 18 months for the tourism and hospitality industry, with operators changing their offerings to customers. Catherine Arthur from the Port Lincoln Hotel saying it was a smooth transition.
I think it was surprisingly easy because we know our market very well and we have a lot of support from the businesses around us and the tour operators around us and South Australian Tourism Commission.
The individual contributions of the restaurant manager were also recognised, winning the Hotel Industry Rising Star Award.
Yeah, still a bit in shock if I'm honest. Yeah, it was very unexpected, but I couldn't be more honoured to even be nominated, and to win is just out of this world.
The up-and-coming star loving the work environment.
It's fantastic. Everyone's so supportive of each other, and even as far as the team that we have on board, it's just a big family here, and we're all so passionate about what we do, and it just makes the work so much easier.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Flinders University has put forward a tourism proposal, a topic of discussion at Port Pirie's council meeting on Wednesday night. It's aiming to promote the Southern Flinders as a tourism destination, in line with new assets being developed in the region.
The Southern Flinders Ranges, waiting to be discovered. That's the name of the proposal by Flinders University, aiming to create a separate identity for the up-and-coming tourism destination. Elected members discussing and supporting the proposal at a council meeting on Wednesday.
The Pirie Council is keen to jump on board with that idea, simply because of the fact we really want to work collaboratively with the other council areas and really promote our region, especially in a post-COVID environment.
The idea for rebranding stemming from the creation of the Southern Flinders Ranges precinct, boasting mountain biking and walking trails in the heart of the iconic landscape.
One of the great things about our Southern Flinders is that it's close to a major metropolis being Adelaide, and people can come up here on the weekend as opposed to having to organise holidays.
Also saying he's confident the promotion of the new regional assets will see flow-on effects to the Port Pirie community and wider region. The project's set to coincide with the opportunity of statewide and interstate travel next month, as well as the expected completion date of Stage 1 of the National Park in December next year.
And so we'll be working on that as far as getting a grant application, getting it organised through the Commonwealth Government. So it's still in its infancy, but certainly we want to get it happening sort of as soon as we possibly can.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Visitors to Broken Hill will soon be able to find all the region's art and cultural attractions in one place. New maps released by West Darling Arts, funded through a COVID stimulus grant, connecting tourists to local businesses.
Galleries, museums, murals and history. They're scattered in every corner of Broken Hill, and the art and culture map brings them all together.
That was something that people were particularly interested in, was to be able to do like a self-guided public art walk.
Attractions in Silverton also included, while a second map covers the Far West region from the Queensland border to the Murray River. Our local art scene set to draw in tourists as domestic travel resumes.
People just love the landscape and they love the depictions of it, but there's also the ties in with things like the industrialisation and the mining.
An online map also launched to ensure visitors have access to the most up-to-date information, particularly important as some businesses remain closed and the flagship regional art gallery undergoes renovations. A pop-up store in the town square now open.
In the front end of the shop here, we've got our retail space supporting local artists and makers of handmade goods. So we've got ceramics, we've got Indigenous objects and artworks.
Even locals are told they may discover something new.
I have to say, doing the map, there's places on there that I've never been to, and and it might be something fun to do with the family.
Lachlan Ittis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. A Spencer Golf area named Park of the Month. And a Broken Hill Cancer Support Group lights up the barbecue for a special cause. Hello again. Plans to create an off-leash dog park at Nelson Square has been put on hold after community consultation. The City of Port Lincoln has opted to delay further talks on the concept until a layout for the whole park is designed.
An off-leash dog park for the Port Lincoln community postponed. The council taking on board locals' concerns.
The main reason was we got a lot of community feedback, and through the feedback it was very clear that the community wanted to look at it as a holistic proposal, not just as an individual dog park.
The council highlighting it needs more time to plan the entirety of Nelson Square. Disused tennis courts and a clubhouse at the bottom of the park, a major talking point.
It's about looking at how the park will function with the tennis courts and potentially a basketball area, and so it's again it was the lack of not having an overarching plan that was the main concern.
$200,000 worth of funding from the federal government has been reallocated. The council saying strong community feedback show locals care.
Just highlighted the importance of the community's connection to the park. There's a lot of very passionate people around, so we want to make sure that we take everyone's feedback.
The council's general manager for environment and infrastructure saying next financial year is looking most likely for the park to be delivered.
It is a little bit hard to know at this stage, but we are definitely committed to try and deliver this as quickly as possible. It obviously won't be this financial year, but hopefully next financial year.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The Flinders Ranges National Park has been selected as the Park of the Month for October. The award presented by National Parks and Wildlife Services to acknowledge and showcase the work done in various regions. As part of the month's celebrations, a call has gone out for new local volunteers to bolster park ranger numbers. Residents from Port Augusta, Corn and Hawker are strongly encouraged to volunteer due to the proximity to the park. While COVID restrictions have hampered fundraising efforts, Broken Hill's Breast Cancer Support Group says the community help has been overwhelming. Local businesses coming together for a sausage sizzle as Pink October comes to an end.
Sizzling sausages in a show of support. Westside Plaza splashed in pink as Breast Cancer Awareness Month comes to an end.
So we're just sort of trying to, again, end our Pink October with a bit of a bang.
Broken Hill has done its best to get its pink on, but with the first half of October spent in lockdown, today's fundraiser was especially important. Local businesses donating sausages and bread for a Friday feast. Warburton's also giving $5 from every sale.
This year's been extra hard for everyone, right through Australia, through the world really. So our little bit to help today for such a great cause is what it's about.
We'll match the donations dollar for dollar from the barbecue.
Locals can still make donations and purchase merchandise through the Breast Cancer Support Group's Facebook page.
It's about creating awareness and celebrating with family and the survivors of breast cancer.
More than $200,000 has been raised since it began. Community support strong even through months of lockdown.
They always seem to get behind our local group, I think because they know all the money that we raise stays locally.
Lachlan Ittis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Spencer Golf residents are being reminded of the Australia Post cut-off dates to ensure their interstate Christmas gifts get there on time. For some locations, parcels are to be in by December 13 and for express postage, December 20. In other country and remote locations, Australia Post recommends sending parcels even earlier than those dates. The Postal Service is expecting a bumper Christmas due to the pandemic. Stay with us after the break. Our cricket experts from across the region will share their tips for weekend games. And we'll have the weekend weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Time to hear from our cricket experts with their tips for this weekend's games.
Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Whyalla Cricket Association. In this round, the first game of the round is between the two victors from round 1, Rupina and North Whyalla. Some very good players in good form here, but I think I'm going to go with North Whyalla in this one. In the second game of the round, we see Central Whyalla taking on West Whyalla. I think Centrals, with a few players back, are just going to prove too strong for West.
G'day and welcome to round 2 of Port Augusta Cricket Tips. This week we see two losing sides. West Augusta take on Corn at Chinnery. This should be a good match. I'm going to lean towards Corn to beat West Augusta. The other match sees the two winning sides from last week. South Augusta take on Central Stirling at Etzer. This should be a very good match. I'm just going to lean towards Central Stirling to win that match.
Hello and welcome to round 3 of Port Pirie Cricket. This round sees Props taking on Wandera on Pirie West Oval. With all teams on one win, it's shaping up as a good start of the season. I'm going to tip Props there. Over at Port Oval, we've got Southport taking on Port Germain. Southport, after a really good start in round 1, were pretty disappointing with the bat last week and will be looking to bounce back. Port Germain had a good win last week and will be looking to continue their good form. I'm going to tip Southport.
Welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. Last week's rounds went as planned, with Charlton winning and also WAYBACKS having a win too. This week sees Todd River travel out to Southern Air, both coming off losses last week. Southern Air at home should be too strong and get the job done. Next game's WAYBACKS against Tasman's. Tasman coming off the bye. Will be a really good game this. Should welcome back a few players that missed the 2020 season. WAYBACKS had a good first up win last week. Going to tip Tasman's to get over the line in this one. Thanks for listening to the Port Lincoln Cricket Tips.
The weekend is here, so let's take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and happy Friday, everyone. Well, we had clearer conditions today than what we've experienced over the last couple of days, and these calmer conditions are looking to last into next week. From 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta and Port Pirie were both 21 degrees and Clare reached just 14. Looking further out across the region now, Whyalla was 18, Port Lincoln and Adelaide were 17, Woodner was 20, Kadina and Cleve were both 16 degrees, Cooper Pedy was sunny and 23. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud sweeping across eastern and northern parts of South Australia with a trough and front is generating rain, showers and thunderstorms, some severe. Some cloud building in the west with a deepening low is starting to bring further showers and storms. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. South to southwesterly winds 20 to 25 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 to 2.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swell below 1 metre. And a short time ago there was a marine wind warning current for South Australia. Port Lincoln and Cleve will both be partly cloudy and 18 degrees tomorrow. Woodna mostly sunny and 23. Whyalla and Kadina partly cloudy with 20 degrees. Port Augusta mostly sunny, set to reach a high of 22 degrees there. Port Pirie also set to reach 22, Clare partly cloudy and 17, and Broken Hill will be sunny and reach a high of 21 degrees. Sunny across most of the state on Sunday, partly cloudy in Cooper Pedy with 27 degrees, Broken Hill mostly sunny with 23. A look at next week's forecast now. Sunny in Port Lincoln, Kadina and Adelaide, possible late shower in Cooper Pedy. Broken Hill will be partly cloudy and is set to reach 28 degrees, mostly sunny in Port Augusta, Port Pirie, Whyalla and Woodna. And showers across the region on Tuesday, 34 degrees in Port Pirie, Whyalla and Woodna, Port Lincoln 27, Port Augusta 35. So at least our local cricketers will have some fine conditions across the region over the weekend, Ruby. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Great, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Friday evening. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your evening and your weekend. I'll be back later with some updates. Good night.